Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. As most of you guys would already know, I've stopped posting for quite a while now. It's because I'm taking a long needed break. This break has allowed me to recharge and focus my efforts more on my trading. But I'll start posting videos once again. So in this video, I'll be sharing with you my market analysis for this week, December 12th to December 16th. So we'll start off with the S&P 500. So if you take a look at the S&P 500 over here, we see that there's a downtrend line over here. So this has served as a resistance for the S&P 500 for the past couple of times. So this was the first time over here, this was the second time, this was the third time, and this was the fourth and most recent time. So if we zoom in over here, the downtrend line is not the only thing that is serving as a resistance for the S&P 500. Over here, we have the 200-day moving average. So you can see at this point over here, this is a major point of resistance for the S&P 500 because there are two resistance points. So the first is the downtrend line and the second is the 200-day moving average. So moving forward, this is an important point to pay attention to for the S&P 500. So right now, the S&P 500 is finding support at the 21-day moving average. So if the S&P 500 can continue to find support at the 21-day moving average, the next point that it has to overcome is this point over here. So this point over here, as mentioned earlier, is a major resistance point because of the downtrend line and the 200-day moving average. So moving forward, we want to pay attention to this area. The next one we'll take a look at is the Dow Jones. So surprisingly, the Dow Jones has been the leading index out of the three indexes. So the Dow Jones has led both the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. But for the kind of trading that I do, ideally I want to see that Nasdaq outperforming the other indexes and not the other way around. But as you can see over here, the Dow Jones is the one that's outperforming the other indexes. So the Dow Jones is above both the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average, and right now it's finding support at this area. So we zoom out over here, we see that this area highlighted by the green rectangle has served as an important price point for the Dow Jones in the previous month. So over here you can see that the Dow Jones is finding support, and then once prices broke below the support level, this support level turned into a resistance area, and you can see that prices encountered resistance over here. But over here, prices managed to break above that resistance, and now that resistance is turning into a support level for prices. So that's for the Dow Jones. Now let's take a look at the Nasdaq. So over here, we can see that the Nasdaq has definitely been underperforming both the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. Similar to the S&P 500, we have a downtrend line, and we can connect all the highs and draw a downtrend line across. So over here, it was the first time, second time, third time over here, and then this was the fourth time. So as you can see, as prices of the Nasdaq approach this downtrend line has served as a resistance against prices. So every time prices reach this level, prices will fall back down. And this is true for the most recent time. So over here, you can see that as prices reach this downtrend line, it encountered resistance and it bounced back down. So far for the Nasdaq, it has managed to find some kind of support at the 21-day moving average, and it's still above the 50-day moving average. So moving forward, there are a few important price points to pay attention to. So the first one would be this area over here. This area over here is the support that I'm taking a look at for the Nasdaq. So we have the 21-day moving average and the 50-day moving average. So that's for support. And then another key price points that I'm looking at for the resistance for the Nasdaq is this downtrend line over here and the 200-day moving average. So for the Nasdaq to be in a confirmed uptrend, we want to ideally see the Nasdaq being above the 200-day moving average. So that's for the price action of the general market. Now let's take a look at other indicators. So over here, we take a look at both the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. So we are comparing the numbers of the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq from 2 weeks ago against last week. So over here for the S&P 500, for stocks above the 50-day moving average, 2 weeks ago there was 457 stocks above the 50-day moving average. But for last week, there was only 391, so that's a decrease of 66. As for stocks above the 200-day moving average, 2 weeks ago there was 315, and last week there was 272. So that's a decrease of 43. As for 52-week new highs, for 2 weeks ago there were 20 stocks that were making 52-week new highs. But for last week it was only 5, so there's a decrease of 15. As for 52-week new lows, 2 weeks ago there were 92, and last week there was 1. So there's an improvement of 91. As for the Nasdaq, for stocks above the 50-day moving average, 2 weeks ago there were 2,495. And last week there was 1,989. So that's a decrease of 506. For stocks above the 200-day moving average, 2 weeks ago there was 1,513 versus last week there was only 1,266. So that's a decrease of 247. As for the 52-week new highs, 2 weeks ago there were 72 and last week there was 43. So there's a decrease of 29. And for the next one, the 52-week new lows, 2 weeks ago there were 0 and last week there was 218. So there was an increase of 218 new stocks making 52-week new lows. Another thing that I take a look at when conducting my market analysis is taking a look at the stocks that are on my buy alert or any stocks that I bought last week and whether these stocks are falling through. So for last week, most of the stocks that were on my buy alert or most of the stocks that I bought were not falling through after they break out. So we'll take a look at some examples. So over here, we take a look at URI. So this was a stock that I bought last week. So I bought the stock over here when it was breaking out. But the next day, prices fall below the breakout level and close below that level. Another one of the stock that I traded was PFHD. So for this stock, I bought this stock as it was breaking out at this level over here. And I managed to make a 1% gain on that day. But as you can see, on the very next day, prices form an engulfing candle and close at this level over here. And I was stopped out on my position the very next day. So these are some examples of the stocks that I traded in that stopped me out after I bought them on the breakout. So most of the stocks that are bought on the breakout or are on my buy alert were not falling through. So over here, I put a no. And for the next one, for the general market indexes, are there any distribution days in the indexes? So while the overall markets did decline last week, there weren't any distribution days yet. So over here, I put a no. And just to recap, over here we have the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 is above the 50-day moving average but below the 200-day moving average. For the Dow Jones, it's above the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. The Nasdaq is above the 50 but below the 200. And for the Russell 2000, which tracks the smaller cap stocks, it is above the 50-day moving average but below the 200-day moving average. So that's a broad overview of the overall market conditions. The next one we'll take a look at is the individual groups. So over here, I'm using Investors Business Daily or IBD. So we'll take a look at the top 10 industry groups for last week. So the best ranking group for last week was the Oil and Gas Royalty Trust. This group has been performing the best in the past 3 to 6 weeks. The year-to-date percentage change for this industry was 90.5%. Even as the general markets has been putting in a negative return for the year. The second industry group is the energy solar. So if you have been following the markets closely recently, you'll notice that quite a bit of solar stocks has been setting out. So over here, we have the ranking for last week was number 2, 3 weeks ago it was 6, and 6 weeks ago it was 3rd. The next one we have is electrical contract manufacturing. It improved from 1 position from 3 weeks ago, but you can see that from 6 weeks ago, it managed to improve quite a fair bit from 17 all the way to 2 and 3rd. The next one we have food dairy products. So this has been a great improvement for this industry group because 6 weeks ago it started at 146, then it fell to 91. 3 weeks ago and for last week. So this is an industry group that you want to pay attention to. The next one we have computer networking. 6 weeks ago it was at 11th place, then it fell to 7, and then it fell and improved to rank 5. So the next one we have leisure and movies. It started at 24, it improved to 17, and it improved to 6 last week. And at 7th place we have machinery farm. So it started at position 51 6 weeks ago, and then 3 weeks ago it was at 8. And then last week it was at 7. The next one we have is telecom, cables and satellite equipment. So it started at 15 6 weeks ago, 13 3 weeks ago, and then in the last week it was at 8. And at 9th place we have consumer service education. So it started at 40, improved to 16 before it ranked at 9 last week. And for the final one, at 10th place, we have the financial investment banking. So it started at 14 6 weeks ago before it improved to 12, and then finally it improved to 10 last week. So the reason why we want to pay attention to the better performing industry groups is because this can highlight to us where the better performing stocks are. While I personally use a down-up approach, which means that I start searching for stocks first before I take a look at their industry groups, I believe that by taking a look at this table, at least we have a better idea of where the better performing stocks and industry groups are at. So that's my market analysis for December 12th to 16. Hopefully you have liked this video. If you did, smash that like button because it really helps the channel grow and allow me to produce more content such as this. And if you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe because I'll be releasing new videos about investing, trading and the stock market. I'll see you in the next video to your financial success.